Welcome on into BKL Nightly. This is the game day recap edition. The Bills knock off the Jags 27-24. They advance to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs for the sixth consecutive year. I'm Thad Brown, joined by Caleb Carr. We'll go through all the different twists and turns, the heroes, the questionable calls, the controversies, and everything about the Bills' first playoff win from the 2025 season. Caleb, this is an easy one to start. The guy who was the star is the guy who has always been the star for the Bills and probably always will be the star as long as he's up on two legs. Josh Allen had another phenomenal wildcard game.
Yeah, and he was barely up on two legs for a lot of this game. I mean, there were multiple times that I was starting to get nervous that he was going to have to go out, but Josh Allen in Josh Allen fashion, he doesn't miss a play, he doesn't miss a start. He's just always going to be out there. And not only was he out there, he was just making plays nonstop, especially in that fourth quarter. Anytime that the Bills needed something, it seemed like he found the open guys, and credit to the receivers as well for giving him options at times. But he made it. He made plays with his legs as well. Couple of them, 1 yard QB sneaks, and there's that debate out there of does that count? Whatever. He still got in the end zone. I don't care how he did it. He got in the end zone multiple times. So an all-around great day for him.
We will talk about the receivers here in a little bit. The thing to me about this game was we've talked so much this year about how Josh Allen has to be Superman at times and has to put the cape on. We have used these phrases to the point where I need us to create a new superhero for him to be. Maybe he can somehow be like Aquaman or Iron Man or something, because Superman is now ridiculously tired. But today, I'm going to keep working the analogy because I thought he was Clark Kent, Josh Allen, today. He was prudent, he was clean, he was smart, he was relatively mild-mannered. He wasn't Superman. He was just making the plays that you're supposed to make. He was making the right decisions, making the right throws, very rarely put the ball in harm's way, did not fumble it once. His runs were mostly effective. I got to look it up in terms of number of first downs he had, but it seemed like every time he touched the ball, there was a first down. A lot of it was sneak stuff. So this wasn't Allen razzle-dazzling it, rolling to the sideline, flinging the ball across his body 30 yards downfield. This was just a quarterback being a professional quarterback. But in the playoffs, when you can do that for 60 minutes straight with no mistakes, you're going to win a lot of those games. And to me, that's what Allen did. Now, there were some really good plays. The throw to Brandon Cooks on the last drive with the blitz coming down his face, that was a good one. The drive before, the 20-yarder or so over the middle of Dawson Knox, very nice layered throw. There was high-level stuff in this game. But I didn't feel like Allen had to be Superman. He just had to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and the defense said it, not the defense, the broadcast said it a handful of times, and I think it's probably the best way to say it. He took what the defense gave him, which, is a saying that a lot of people say around the league about quarterbacks, but to say it for one of the best defenses in the league, and that's what the Jaguars have been for a lot of this season and a lot of these past few weeks of the regular season. They've been one of, if not the best defense in the league, especially against the run game, but even in the secondary. And Josh Allen took that and just, I'm going to pick you apart. I'm going to find your little weakness. I'm not going to create a weakness like he sometimes does. He sometimes is just running out of the pocket. You didn't know that your defense couldn't chase a quarterback around for 10 seconds and then also cover 80 yards downfield. But he shows you that your defense can't. He didn't have to do that today. He just kind of, like you said, picked them apart, found the little weaknesses here or there. I like the Clark Kent analogy because there weren't many plays that he had to go above and beyond to make. He just did exactly what he needed to do, and he was extremely clean, which isn't something that we've been able to say about him. Maybe not this year, but in past seasons, he isn't always the cleanest quarterback, and today he was pretty mistake-free.
And compare that to the other quarterback, too, because Trevor Lawrence was not that. Now, Trevor Lawrence had good moments. He had good drives.
Definitely.
He had, I think both his touchdown throws late in the game, especially to Parker Washington and the first one of the game to Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Those were really good throws, really pinpoint throws. But he absolutely donated an interception to the Bills in the first part of the game on a play where he has no business trying to throw between the zone where Shaq Thompson's in the middle of the field. He probably should have gotten the 4th and 2 run. He's kind of slipping, diving early, just wasn't composed on the run. You're probably a better athlete than 32-year-old Shaq Thompson. Run forward, stay, keep your feet under you, and make a play. And he couldn't do it. And that's not to say that what Josh Allen didn't do was good. That's to point out that It's hard in the NFL. I don't care even if you're a number 1 overall pick who's won 8 games in a row, who came into this game with 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. It's not a guarantee you're going to execute. Josh Allen executed all day. He executed until the Jags died, is what happened. He executed the Jags to death. It's a terrible analogy, but whatever. That's what happened. Trevor Lawrence didn't. He did not execute in this game. And that is sometimes all you need is your quarterback just to execute. And the Bills did it way better.
Yeah, and the Bills' defense didn't really make it easy on him either. They were getting a little bit of pressure. They were making some plays as well. The first interception, obviously, I think that's more of a Trevor Lawrence shouldn't have thrown that ball than it is really a Shaq Thompson made a good play. He was just like, oh, it's coming at me. All right, let me go.
You're right, exactly.
But Tre'Davious White, which we'll talk about him a little bit later, Tre'Davious White made some great plays in the secondary as well. So it was a lot of the defense kind of taking advantage of some of the smaller mistakes that he had and turning them into big ones. But you're right. There were plays that he just didn't look comfortable. Maybe
especially in the first half.
Especially in the first half.
I thought a lot of the first half, the spotlight looked too bright for him, which is weird for a guy that has a 27-point comeback win in the playoffs already. I would have thought he would have been more composed, and he was not.
And he's at home, which was a little bit surprising to me. The first couple drives, I kind of thought the same of Allen as well. They didn't maybe compose. He was composed, but he wasn't comfortable. And I credited that in my head to they're on the road, and it sounded pretty loud down there in Jacksonville. But Allen quickly was just like, I don't care. And he quickly kind of got in and got himself comfortable. And I just felt like Trevor Lawrence, there were drives where he would, but then he would come back out and just look a little sloppy. And he couldn't consistently play at a high level.
Second half was better than the first half for Lawrence, I thought, but it just wasn't good enough all the way through. Let's move it to the Bills wide receivers. And we'll start with Khalil Shakir, who was incredible. Career high, 12 receptions on 12 targets, by the way, which is no small thing. That Josh Allen threw the ball 12 times at Khalil Shakir, and they were all completed. A lot of them weren't much further than you and I are right now, but regardless, it was 12 completions. And then Shakir did a nice job on multiple occasions making things happen after the catch. The one that stands out to me was the first drive of the second half, 3rd and 9. They go screen to Shakir. It looks dead. He gets a couple nice blocks, shakes a tackle, creates a first down, Bills them to go down the field and getting a field goal. In a 3-point win in the playoffs, those things are invaluable. And for Josh Allen to have a receiver that he could depend on this whole game is something we haven't seen a whole lot this year, even if Shakir has always been a dependable guy.
Yeah, Shakir just has a nose for that first down marker. Like whenever there's a few guys in the league that whenever they get the ball, you can tell their one goal is getting a first down and that's it. Other guys are like, I'm going to get as much as I can. I'm going to get here. I'm going to go for the end zone. Shakir's just like, I'm getting this first down no matter what happens. I'm going to get it. And on multiple times he did find a way. But like you said, a lot of them were short, whether it be a wide receiver screen or just a quick out route, but still in the NFL, getting the ball thrown to you 12 times and not once was it dropped or not once did you try to go upfield before actually catching the ball.
No miscommunications, you're right.
No miscommunications, no miscues, nothing. Not like sometimes all it takes is your finger is a little bit down and that's all it is and you're going to drop the ball. All it takes is for you to take your eyes off of it for half a second and you're going to drop it. Not one miscue, not one miscommunication. I think that's probably the most impressive part.
The other thing was it wasn't just Shakir at wide receiver in this game.
No.
At halftime, I love this stat. At halftime, the 5 top receivers for the Bills in this game, pass catchers, were all wide receivers. Would we have ever expected that in any half at all this year, let alone in a playoff half on the road?
No.
And as it turned out, the top 3 for the game were still receivers too in terms of by yardage.
Yeah.
So the Bills got stuff from receivers today. Cooks had the long one, obviously, in the last drive of the game. Keon Coleman got loose for a, 36-yarder. Didn't have to do much, but whatever, made the play. Terrell Shavers converted a first down early in the game. If the Bills can get stuff, and I mean literally stuff, anything, from this receiving group to something close to this level, all of a sudden this offense that we've thought all year is James Cook or Josh Allen miracle or bust, you get a little something out of this group. It's very, very encouraging.
Brandon Cooks had a great game, I thought.
Did drop one. I know it was reviewed, but it was
technically
a drop.
I don't know if it was a drop.
Here's the thing about that. Whether you think it was a drop or not,
it's labeled a drop. Yes.
Well, no. He double catched it. He double clutched it, right? So you didn't catch it and bring it in. You caught it and then bobble and then brought it in.
Yeah.
He had one like that against Philly too that they converted. And if your hands, and I didn't think Brandon Cooks' hands were ever a problem, but so far with the Bills, we've seen multiple of these. If you're going to do that to where you don't secure it right away, then you're leaving yourself open to what happened, which was a replay that no one really knows why it was called that way. But there's no doubt there's a question there about whether or not he caught the ball. So yeah, that's on him because there's no one around him. The ball's right there. You got to make that catch cleanly so that there is no doubt.
No, I
But separate
agree.
to that, I agree with you.
I think the other thing that stood out to me most from Brandon Cooks, even with the drop, was he was getting open, which is something that we haven't really been able to say. And whether it's just, it could just be how they were scheming up against the Jaguars zone or whatever. But there were a couple plays. It was Josh Allen went out. It was after the drive after his touchdown run where he went back into the medical tent. They were looking at his knee. They thought that he might have messed up his finger. First throw after that, he overthrows Brandon Cooks. Cooks was open on that. Cooks got open. Cooks did what he needed to do. And there were a couple other plays where they didn't even throw it to Cooks that I saw that he did his job and he ran a good route and he got open. So I think that's one of the most encouraging things. And again, I know it could be scheme-wise. It could be based off who they played, but it didn't matter what the scheme was. It didn't matter who the Bills had played earlier in the year. Nobody was getting open. So the fact that someone is finally getting open and doing it somewhat consistently is, again, very encouraging.
And Cooks has been doing this too. This is not a random game. He's been getting open.
He's been doing it all year.
He's been, at least with the Bills.
With the Bills, yes.
Right. The last few games he's been with the Bills. And again, he's not separating at a ridiculous level, but relative to the group he's working with, it's fantastic.
It is
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, the receiving group was a surprise hero out of this game. And they didn't, Josh Allen threw for 273 and Shakir had most of it, but this was an important contribution the Bills got. Go to the defensive side of the ball. We brought him up quick. Let's dive in now. Trey White, I mean, what a game. He had, I think it was 4 balls thrown his way, had only one of them were completed. Let me see how many official pass breakups he got credited with here. He got 3. Yep. Got 3 pass breakups, which in one game, I don't care what game it is a heck of a day at the office. Obviously, the last one that created the interception. And when Trey White was an All-Pro, his calling card was, I'm going to stick to you like glue. He was a grabby guy, too. People have talked about a guy like Sauce Gardner getting penalties. Trey White was that guy, but it doesn't mean he's bad. He knew how to be grabby without getting called. I'll watch the film and see how grabby he was in this one. The thing was, he was on receivers, and good receivers, too. This Jacksonville offense, there's no breathers. If you got Brian Thomas Jr. or Parker Washington or Jacoby Myers, all 3 of those guys are dangerous. So for Trey White to have 3 pass breakups, create an interception, and really not give up much of anything, you would take that for any number 2 corner. And then you tack onto it, obviously he's coming off 2 major leg injuries over the last 4 years. He's been left for dead by 2 other NFL teams. Early in the year, we wondered if he could even hack it for this Bills team. And here he is in the playoffs as the hero of the defense.
Yeah, not only did he get the game-winning pass breakup, his second one, the first one was on Brandon Strange, and then the second one was, I believe it was also Brandon Strange, again, the tight end. He was wide open in the end zone pretty much. Cole Bishop talked after the game at the podium and said, that was my area to cover, and I wasn't there. I misread something or whatever it was that Bishop didn't do. Trey White just broke on that ball and got in just in time to break it up and prevent that touchdown. That was another big play because I believe the Jaguars kicked a field goal.
That was third down, yeah.
That was third down, and I believe they kicked a field goal on that one. So that's huge. Again, in a 3-point game, turning a touchdown into a field goal is very, very big.
And it's a great story, too. A guy that was beloved when he was here in Buffalo prior.
Still beloved.
And still beloved again, exactly. But beloved, and then came back, and he was beloved, but he was questioned. There were many in the fan base, weeks 3 through 7 or 8, wondering if he could hack it out there. And in the game where the Bills had to, a playoff game, he more than held his weight in this contest. The other guy I want to talk about on defense is Shaq Thompson. You want to talk about a late off-season signing that is paying dividends. Team high 8 tackles, had a pass breakup himself, had the interception, also had the tackle on the 4th and 2 play. I mean, really Trevor Lawrence is tackling
It
himself.
was he just touched him.
But you got to be there.
You still got to touch him.
Exactly.
If Shaq Thompson doesn't touch him,
or if he's not there, if he's not aware,
then it's over.
It's not a great play, but it's still a play.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I take from his game the most is that how many times have we seen him come on the field and be a steadying influence? As much as Terrell Bernard and even Matt Milano might be the athletic playmakers, when Shaq Thompson's out there, there's a little bit of that he's going to make the right play. The smart thing's going to be done. We're not going to get gashed up the middle in the run game. And they didn't. They got gashed around the outside. The guy has been everything you could possibly have wanted from a, hey, we're just going to bring him here just in case we have a problem guy.
Mm-hmm. He has been, and I've said this all year, I do truly think that he's probably been the best linebacker that the Bills have had this season. And like you said, use the word athletic. He's not incredibly athletic. He hasn't, he can't make those huge splash plays. We saw it on the return of the interception.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really know what to do. He knew what to do, but he just couldn't really make a play. Like you could tell that he wanted to try to a cut and like get outside and try to get into the end zone, but he just couldn't really pick up any extra yards.
He's not making people miss in the open field. That's for sure.
He's not.
Yeah.
And maybe like a Terrell Bernard, maybe he could if he was in that situation. But the thing about Terrell Bernard and some of these other players they're more playmakers, they're going to also make big mistakes and they're going to have big holes. He doesn't. Shaq Thompson doesn't. There's just straight consistency. That's the best way to describe it. He's just always constant. Maybe he's not going to always make the big splash play. And he did make one today. Again, we said how much of that is him making the play and how much of that was why is Trevor Lawrence throwing that. It doesn't matter. He still made the play. And that is a splash play for him. But he's not always going to make those, but he's always going to make the right play, like you said. And just having a guy, a veteran linebacker on this team, not even just linebacker, just a veteran defender on this team that's always going to make the right play is huge, both for the game, but also just for the morale of the team.
When a quarterback gives you a gift, you got to be professional enough to catch it. And he was in that case, in that game. The only other defensive guy I want to spotlight quick, it was for one play, but Deion Walker got a piece of a throw where it looks like Brenton Strange is open deep down
Wide
the field.
open.
And Trevor Lawrence came into this game with the most batted passes this year. I don't know why. Trevor Lawrence is like 6'10", whatever it is. He could play in the NBA. I don't know why he's got so many batted passes.
Offensive line, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah. Scheme. Regardless, the Bills were aware, and their 6'9" guy, Deion Walker, I'm exaggerating, got just enough of a piece that who knows what happens if that ball is completed. That led to a punt. So it was only one play, and Deion Walker did have 3 tackles in this game too, but boy, again, you talk about a 3-point game, everything matters. That's one that mattered for me. Anybody else on defense you want to point out here?
No, not in particular. I was going to say, though, Deion Walker did have a couple of nice tackles. I believe he had a nice tackle on a run play where it was like only 1 or 2 yards. He was able to get a stop on it. But yeah, Strange was wide open. And then Shaq Thompson, I think, almost got a second interception off that tip. But if Trevor Lawrence got that ball off and Walker wasn't there, that was definitely a touchdown.
Let's move to the kickers because somehow the Bills won this battle with Matt Prater nursing whatever he had, the quad injury, obviously, but I don't know how bad it was. And Cam Little, who's got the longest leg in football. Now, I don't think it was talked about enough that Cam Little is long. He's not ridiculously accurate. He was like top 10, but bottom of top 10. Yeah, exactly. And the Bills got 2 long field goals. Forget about Cam Little. Matt Prater made a 47-yarder and a 50-yarder. That's all you want from your kicker. If you get anything beyond 55 from your plan B kicker, I think you're fine. The guy stepped up and made plays, and when the other team's guy couldn't connect on the gift at the end of the first half that we'll talk about in a minute, turned out to be, differences in the game. There's another one.
Yeah, he made 2 great kicks, not without anxiety. That first one was barely, and first one was barely in.
The whole I'm going to hit slices where like the ball starts left and goes back right.
Yeah.
He had a point after too late in the game where it looked like it was doing that too.
It was the last point after. Exactly. It was like a knuckleball that started to the left and then cut to the right. And I'm standing there watching. I'm like, all right, Prater, hit it. Oh, thank goodness.
It's not, they don't draw pictures on the scoreboard.
No.
They just put the points down.
No. Yes, you're right. Matt Prater, he made them all, so it doesn't matter how. I'm not going to sit here and critique the fact that, well, you all barely made it. Doesn't matter. He made them all. And yeah, coming off that quad injury, there was a real concern. I had a real concern. I mean, I talked about earlier this week that just because he's good to go They said he was good to go last week, and then he re-aggravated his quad. What happens if he goes out there and he does it again? He stayed healthy. He's good. Move on to the next week.
Let's move it to the run game in this contest. And how much are you concerned? Because there's no other way to spin it. The Bills got whomped. They got absolutely hammered, both sides of the ball running it. Look, allowing the Jags to go for, was it 160? I'm going to pull it up here. I'm sorry, 154. They averaged 7 a carry. If you take out a couple of short end arounds, I mean, the running backs were killing them. And then obviously James Cook, 15 for 46, barely averaged 3 a carry. If you had given me those two numbers before the game, I would have thought the Bills lost by 2 touchdowns. So the fact they won this game is fantastic, but this is not the last good run defense they're going to face. And this is not, there are going to be better run offenses they will probably face in this playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not incredibly concerned when it comes to the Bills' run defense, just because this is something that, you know, we've seen all season long, and we've seen the Bills find ways around it to win. Is it a great plan to have? Like, we're just going to win despite
Right.
But I do think I'm not too concerned about that. And I'm honestly not incredibly concerned about James Cook and the Bills' rushing offense either, because I mean, there's a reason that the Jaguars had the top rushing defense. And then on the other side of that, I think once Joe Brady saw that, okay, the run game isn't really working, he didn't continue to just keep pounding away. I think Cook only had like 15 carries. So they didn't just continue to pound and pound away. They let Josh Allen throw the ball. They saw that Josh Allen was having success. They saw that Khalil Shakir and Brandon Cooks, they were having some success with the receivers. So they moved to that. So I'm not too concerned. I do think that, like, if they would have kept going with Cook and just kept saying, we're going to make this work, probably wouldn't have won the game. Cook would have gotten more yards, but they probably wouldn't have won the game.
I'm with you on the Joe Brady side about that was a good in-game, maybe not adjustment, but, oh, yeah, this is not working. Let's not do this anymore.
Well, it's easy when finally the receivers and the
start
pass
making
game
plays.
is working.
Yeah.
This has happened in the past where James Cook isn't working, and they try to go to the passing game, and guess what? That isn't working either, and now what do? But they were able to successfully transfer over.
I'm a little worried about both. The defensive side of it is this Jags team doesn't even want to run the ball. You could even watch in this game, even after they were hitting 12 and 14-yard runs, you almost had to, like, beg Liam Cohen to keep running the ball. Me and Carl Jones were talking about it, and we're thinking the Jags seem to be galaxy braining their way out of this. All you have to do is just hand the ball off.
Yeah.
And if Jacksonville is going to run at this level, there aren't any great running games left. But now, New England, Denver, Houston, Pittsburgh, Philly, whoever you're going to face,
can run.
Even if they forget about if they can run or not, they're going to run it against the Bills because the Jags did. The offensive side of it, I'm less worried about because, like you said, this is the number one run defense in the NFL. It's not going to get harder than this. Every other assignment after this is going to be, you would think, easier. Obviously, Houston is its own brand of hard if the Bills have to face them. But I think the Bills will do better offensively in the run game after this one. Sean McDermott had a couple of big decisions in this game, and I don't think we can totally leave that out about why the Bills won this game. We talked about playoff experience going into this one during the week, and the head coach having the experience to make the right call, or at least being experienced enough to know what to do in those spots, no small factor. The challenge on the fourth down run, I think it was a pretty easy decision to challenge, but you still got to make it.
Yep.
Liam Cohen probably missed a challenge he should have made on a short out pattern to Gabe Davis that he probably bobbled going to the sideline that I think would have been overturned. He didn't make that. Sean McDermott did. It made a difference. The 2 fourth downs, end of the first half, and then end of the very end of the game. Let's talk about those quick. End of the game first. It's not a fourth down, but it's first and goal at the 1 with a minute to go. Jags out of timeouts. There was some question about, do you take a knee or do you try and dive forward and run some clock? I really think I would have done that, even though I've always been, you got to get the touchdown. Don't worry about messing with the clock. Only because I believe so much in the sneak that even if I fail on second and third down, you give me 3 shots with Josh Allen from the 1, I'm probably scoring. But I'm not going to at all cast any or look side eye at Sean McDermott scoring right away because you have to score there. And why mess around? So give me your take on that situation.
Yeah, Josh Allen was asked about that after the game, and he was very much just like, it worked out. It worked in hindsight. Why are we talking about it? We needed to score. We scored. That was the only thing on our mind, and we did it. And I do agree with him. I think, in this game, with the way that the game was going, I get that you want to not give the Jaguars offense like any time, but also points have been hard to come by. Now, obviously, the fourth quarter just was wide open, but outside the fourth quarter, points were hard to come by, and you don't know if you're going to be able to get that. You have all it takes is a kneel down, and you lose like half a yard, and then they stop you once, and now it's third down,
or a penalty. That'd be my concern.
Or a penalty,
yeah.
Or we've seen it happen before, a fumble. Like we've seen that happen where Josh Allen's reaching or he gets hit just right and he fumbles the ball on one of those. Like we've seen this. So, and this was just such a weird game where it wouldn't have surprised me if that happened either. So I like just get the points and we'll go from there. We'll continue playing.
That's usually how I am all the time. I thought this was a rare situation where you could have talked about the other side, but that to me is still the right call. At end of the half, 4th and 4, the Bills try to draw Jacksonville offside, doesn't work, and they punt. And then the Jags do get the field goal try. It was close. I think I would have gone for it there, mainly because your defense is playing well. If you fail, you're probably only giving up 3, and I'm still tied going to the half. If I succeed, I'm getting 3 because now I'm very much in field goal range. Whereas now it did work because Mitch Wisniewski, give that dude credit, put it out of bounds at the 1.
Great punch.
And was just barely deep enough to make sure at the end of the day that Cam Little missed. But I would have gone for it there. It was close. It's like a 51-49 go, but I would have gone.
I think you also have to take into account that Cam Little is on the other sideline. And he currently holds the NFL record for the longest field goal.
I get all that, but with a minute to go at the 45-yard line, you're not going to need Cam Little to be long to score a field goal from there.
You're not. But they were pretty much, you go for it and you don't get it. The Jaguars are already in field goal range. Now they're trying to get a touchdown. They have time to go down the field and score. So I kind of get just the punting away. At that point, the defense has been playing pretty well. I think that long ball to,
Washington?
Was it Washington again? Yeah. The long ball to Washington was like the biggest play of the game up to that point, I believe, or one of the biggest plays of the game. The defense, I think, had been playing pretty solid up to that point that I am comfortable enough punting it away and saying, just finish out the half for us.
One other thing I want to talk about before we get done here was the end of the half allowing of the kick.
Yes.
And I know Bills fans were upset about this. I will say that CBS did a poor job at multiple times in this game. I don't think there's any way you can know from the replays that you saw whether or not the center snapped the ball. And keep in mind, all that has to happen is for that play to begin for it to matter. Because as we were talking about before, if there was 5 seconds ago and Trevor Lawrence dropped back and threw a 40-yarder and the Bills interfered on it, even if the clock hits 0 at the end of that play, the interference still counts. So in the same way, if this play starts with 1 second to go, and by starting, as they said in the broadcast, all that has to happen is the center to begin his snap, well, then the offside matters. Now, I don't think from what we saw, the center started the ball before the clock hit 0.
From what we saw.
But that replay is not telling you for sure, because it was certainly close. If they didn't get it off, they didn't get it off by 0.2 of a second. And I would want to see something closer to know. So I don't think, I get Bills fans being upset about it, but if the league has some replay that showed you that, then you have to trust at least that they saw it the way it actually happened, because we at home don't know.
First of all, I think we're in a day and age where we should be able to have a better, closer camera angle than they were just showing us the regular broadcast camera angle. That's all that we ever saw. Now I get, because I made this point, that I don't think CBS goes into the game saying, all right, do we have our camera on the center? We got that one set, right? That one's good? Okay,
for
cool.
Especially when it's a hurry up trying to snap the ball play.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Like nobody has a camera just set on the center the entire game, because there's only one purpose of doing that, and that's this play. So I do understand that, but there's got to be like a down the line camera shot, or there's got to be something that at least shows it a little bit better. But the other part of it is I didn't think the officials did a great job of explaining why they made that call. Now, again, they don't know what's going on in the broadcast, so they don't know what we can see. So give them a little bit of credit for that. But I thought there could have been a little bit of like, they got a little bit more explanation behind it, because it was just a very confusing few minutes.
End of the day, the Bills got away with the
All that
win.
matters.
Yep. And they are moving on to round number 2. We will too. As always, you can catch Buffalo Game Day Recap or Buffalo BKL Nightly's Game Day Recap on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week talking about Buffalo and whoever it is. Thanks for watching. For Caleb Carr, I'm Thad Brown. We will see you again next week for round number 2.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.